What's going on YouTube? Back with another video, and as you can see by the title, we got the best badges that you can put on. So I'm gonna go through every badge in the game, tier 1 badges, tier 2, every last single one, and I'm gonna tell you what the sweet spot is for each badge. So when I say sweet spot, I mean where it's most optimal at. So certain badges don't really work that good when you go too high, and some don't work when you go too low. So there's usually a sweet spot where you should try to aim for your builds, depending on what type of build you are and how you're going to use it. So I'm just going to go over each sweet spot, and I'm just going to break it down why and if it costs too much or too little. So that's what I mean by sweet spot. So also, I just want to spread the word. Past few videos I've been doing that as part of my intro. So today daily verse is from 1 John chapter 4:19. We love because he first loved us. So basically, we're made in God's image as well as the next man too. God loves us unconditionally. God created us, so we should love others. We should love God and do the same thing. He loved us. He loves us no matter what we do. We mess up, we do right, we stray from the past sometimes, but God still loves us. So we should love others just the same way. We should forgive others because God forgives us. And sometimes we look at ourselves in better positions than other people, but we're all the same. I'm no more than you, you're no more than me, the president's no more than me. We're all equal, we're all the same in God's eyes. So we should love others. Next man, anybody on the street there, you should love them, help them out in any way that you can, and just love others because God loves us. Anything that God does, we should try to replicate that as best as we can. So we love because he first loved us. 1 John chapter 4:19. So to get into the video, we're going to start off. I'm just going to go through every badge. I'm on this creator screen, or my player creator screen, and we're just going to go through every badge. So first one is ankle assassin. This one kind of really doesn't impact your game, but if you're trying to get ankle breakers, obviously you're going to try to go for like the highest one possible. But I would say the sweet spot, is probably, depending on your build, if you're a small guard, you're probably going to go for that Hall of Fame because you're going to go for Steve Francis. So I would say that 95 ball handle is where you get Steve Francis at. So if you're a small guard, I didn't mean to move that, I would say go for the Hall of Fame. Any other build, I would say probably silver's that sweet spot where you're going to get good ankle breakers, but you're not going to get too much too little. I would say legend is not worth it. I have legend on my 5.9. I don't really get that many. Hall of Fame, I still there's not really a difference between silver and legend. Like ankle breakers are something that doesn't happen too much to the point where you got to go to legend. So I would say silver's that sweet spot. This badge is kind of useless at the higher ranges, but you really don't even need the badge, so it's not a badge you should really be going for. Next is bailout. That sweet spot, it works best at legend. It's proven like statistically, but I would say the sweet spot for most of your builds, you're probably only going to get it on bronze, so you might as well go for bronze. Don't force getting it any higher on your builds. If you're a small guard playing comp, go for that, I would say Hall of Fame gold range. I would say gold Hall of Fame is probably that sweet spot because you're going to be going up and then kicking out a lot. So I would say for small guards, go for that Hall of Fame range. And then every other build, I would say just try to get bronze if you can, because a lot of people don't even bail out like that no more. And it does cost a lot. Pass accuracy costs a lot on every build because passing is important, so it costs a lot. So if you can get it on bronze, go get it. If you can't, don't force it. I have a lot of builds that don't even have it. I only put my pass at like a 71 usually for dimer, but yeah, you don't really need it that high. So bailout's another one. Challenger sweet spot is going to be bronze. The way the contest system is this year, it doesn't matter if you have it on bronze or on legend. It doesn't really make an impact. So I wouldn't even worry about challenger as a badge like that. So yeah, that's just my opinion. Deadeye, I would say gold is that sweet spot. A lot of small guards are probably going to get that on gold. Silver works pretty well too, especially if you're taking like midi fades. I would say silver works pretty well, but if you're trying to be like a comp guard or even a big, I would say silver's that range where you want to be like minimally get it on silver if you're taking jump shots. And if you can get it any higher, go get it higher. There's nothing wrong with that. Next is glove. I would say the sweet spot is probably going to be that silver. Most people just go for that 85 steel for gold interceptor. So I think the 91 costs too much. You don't get plucks like that. You can get the bump steals, which is how you get more steals this year, rather than plucking people. So getting in animations, you get more bumps, like reaching in lanes or knowing where the person's going, then getting that steal. So I would say silver's going to be that range. You don't need it any higher than that. So just go put that on silver. After that, handles for days, I really feel like it doesn't make a difference. I would say the sweet spot is going to be silver. I don't think you got to go any higher than silver to like go get it. But if you naturally get it, then naturally get it as it upgrades, but don't force handles for days any higher, because it is really not that important of a badge. Interceptor, gold's that sweet spot. That 85 steel is where you're going to want to go. You can try to go for that 94. If you can get it, go get it. But I would say gold is a sweet spot where you're going to get enough interceptor animations to pop up. You know, interceptors also, if you tip the pass, not just catching it, there's really no difference between catching the animation. As you go higher, you're always going to still get the deflections more so, if that makes sense. But you're going to get more lanes as you go up. Obviously, every badge this year, I will say, does work more as you increase. But I would say the sweet spot is gold, to where you're going to get enough, and it's pretty balanced at that. Lightning launch, sweet spot. Most sweet spots are going to be gold, but I would say go for that 91 if you're a small guard. If you're taller, I would go for gold, because that's pretty solid. And then you can even max +1 it. But I would say Hall of Fame's that spot where it doesn't cost too much, and you should try to get, if you can get it. But if not, gold is the spot where you want to hit it at. After that, we got limitless, sweet spot, bronze. Limitless doesn't really work like that this year. A lot of the shooting badges, since shooting's so inconsistent this year, it doesn't matter too much, I would say, but obviously it does matter. And yes, as you increase, each badge, like I said, is going to get better. But I would say bronze is probably that sweet spot. You don't even really need it to hit deep shots, as long as you have a high midi. You can go like a 90 midi and a 73. You can still take shots beyond, because limitless doesn't kick in till you're like 27 feet out. It's like 27 to 30. And yeah, so limitless is not that important. Midi marksman, so you got to be 6'3" or shorter. I would say sweet spot, probably, I would say silver, to be honest. I don't know what it is, because it's built 6'6", but I do have a 5'9". I will say it definitely does impact certain shots, you know, since you're the shortest in the game. Like it's gonna be better. But I would say silver is a sweet spot. If you can get it, you don't need it too high, don't need it too low. Silver. On ball menace, I would say gold's that sweet spot where it works really, really well, and it doesn't impact you too much going any higher. Legend obviously is the best. Like I'm gonna keep saying, legend's always going to be the best no matter what the badge is. But gold is really good. Silver's the bare minimum you should try to get if you're trying to stay in front of somebody. I have a few. I only have it on bronze. It's decent, but they get a lot of blow-bys on bronze. Silver, you're going to be able to stay in front of people, and the blow-bys don't happen as much. But gold's the spot where you're really bodying people up. So gold's really that sweet spot. Physical finisher, this is a tough one because I don't really use it like that, so I can't really speak on it too much. But I would say, looking at what it costs, I would say that sweet spot is going to be silver. A lot of people don't have that 90 driving layup, so I would say silver is probably the spot where you're going to want to go to. You're probably going to only get it at. It's not a badge that really works like that either, so you probably shouldn't go for it unless you're going for a high layup build. That's your intention on how you're going to play. Pick dodger is a badge that usually doesn't work that well. You're going to get dragged into screens. That's how the game is this year. So I would say sweet spots, whatever you put your perimeter on, this is not a badge that you should go for when you're making your build. Like, oh, I'm one off a pick dodger, let me put this up and sacrifice something else. It's not something that you would sacrifice for. So I would say, with most of your builds, you're probably only going to have it on silver, most of your builds. So pick dodger, silver, sweet spot. Posterizer, once again, silver, sweet spot. Unless you're making a slasher, like you're trying to dunk on people, like you would go for a higher one. So with my slasher, I have a Hall of Fame, and then I do have a 99 dunk slasher too, so I have it on legend. But that sweet spot, usually as you make your builds, bare minimum, I would say bronze. But if you're trying to get contact dunks, bare minimum is going to be silver, because you also have to have an 87 driving dunk to get those contact animations. Rebound chaser, this one's a tough one. I would say silver bare minimum, depending on your build. If you're a guard, bronze bare minimum, unless you're just playing not to get rebounds. I personally, all my builds, I like to have rebound on. That's just me. But if you're a center, legend, you need it on 99. That's how the game is. I would say put offensive up first, as high as you can, and then defensive. That's my preference, because you're usually in worse position on offense to get boards, and this year your players are going to miss, your teammates are going to miss. So I would say that set shot, gold is that sweet spot where gold works the best. It's Hall of Fame and legend is not too little or too much. Ooh. Hall of Fame and legend don't give you enough boost. There we go. It doesn't give you high enough boost to where you should really go for it unless you're a small guard. I would say if you're anywhere between a 2 and a 4, you should try to get it on gold. If you're a shooting build, if you're like a corner sitter or spot up, I would say gold's where it works the best. And doesn't cost too much or too little. Shifty shooter, I would say Hall of Fame's kind of that spot. So this one's really for people who are like doing a lot of dribble pull-ups. Hall of Fame, I would say it works the best. You should try to get if you can. If you can't, I would say bare minimum. If you're taking a lot of midi fades, silver is where you want to go. And that's more so silver for taller builds who like still taking those middies. Strong handle, you're gonna get a lot of those animations probably depending on who you're going up against more so. So if you're a taller build going up against a smaller build, you're gonna get the animation more. So I would say gold's that sweet spot again. Gold, like I said, is gonna be a lot of sweet spots, but strong handle gold is what you should go for. Unpluckable doesn't really matter this year. So sweet spot is as bad as you really shouldn't worry. You don't really get plucked like that this year. It's more so on bump steals, which just determines, like, it's just out of moves that you're gonna get. So you're gonna get plucked no matter what, and it's more so on bump steals. So pluckable's not that important. Versatile, visionary, I know a lot of builds don't even have it like that. I would say if you can get it on bronze, go for it. But if you're playing more so off ball, you really don't need it like that. I would say 71 pass sack is the sweet spot, and you can check out the next video that I'm gonna drop. I'm gonna do the animation sweet spot. So I would say bronze. Next is Aerial Wizard. These are all tier 2 badges, so most of these aren't gonna matter as much. Aerial Wizard, I have mixed emotions about this because I have slashers. I catch a lot of lobs, but I miss a lot of lobs, and I don't know why. I have it from everywhere between legend and bronze, but I would say this is bad. You shouldn't really worry about. It's not that important. Box out beast, gold is that sweet spot, most definitely. But if you're a big, you should definitely get that on legend. If you can. If you can't as a big because of your strength, then go get it on Hall of Fame. You want this as high as you can, so you don't get those swim animations and all that doesn't happen to you. So smaller builds, I wouldn't worry about it. If you're a smaller build, I would really only worry about it if you're a build that has high rebound, or you're making the build to rebound as well. So I would say legend if you're a center. Break starter, gold is probably the spot where it works best. So you're gonna want it on gold. It doesn't cost too much, especially as a big. You're definitely wanting if you're playing a lot of 5s. If you're not playing a lot of 5s, don't even worry about this badge. It's not even gonna trigger. Brick wall, Hall of Fame is where it works the best in my opinion. It doesn't cost too much, or it doesn't cost as much as that 99 strength for legend cost a lot, and you can even max +1 it, and because it's a tier 2. So I would say Hall of Fame is what you should try to get it on. Dimer or silver is probably that sweet spot. That's where I usually put most of my pass hacks when I'm not making builds 2 pass. So if I'm making a 2 to 4, I usually try to get that 71 area. But Dimer's a badge where it's supposed to boost the passer, the catchers, the shooter. If you pass the ball, it's supposed to boost their jump shot. But shooting so random this year, it doesn't matter as much. But obviously the higher it goes, the better it works. But I would say silver's that sweet spot. Float game, floaters really don't work this year. This is not a badge you should go for in my opinion. High flying, I feel like silver's that sweet spot where you should try to get. I feel like that's where I get some pretty decent animations here and there. If you can get it higher, I would get it higher because you do get chase downs with it, but legend costs too much. That block's not worth it. And I would say Hall of Fame and gold, I would say, is not worth it. So I feel like silver's that sweet spot. Hook specialist, If you're big and you actually do take hooks, I respect you. I'm not gonna lie, because nobody's doing that this year. But I would say silver. I feel like that 87 close shot at gold just costs too much, so I would say silver for that. Immovable, legend's definitely the best, obviously, but I would say sweet spot gold. This is a really good badge, especially last year it definitely was, but this is a really good badge, so I would say immovable gold. Try to get that. Layup mix masters silver. Layups are another thing that they kind of nerfed this year, so they don't work as good. Off-ball pest, a lot of people dex this year, so if you're playing twos like comp, this is once again not a badge you should go for unless you play a lot of twos as the guard. I feel like you should have this badge as high as you can get it. I would say Hall of Fame if you can. Yeah, I would say Hall of Fame. I put that on when I'm getting dexed a lot, so I'm just grabbing the other players, so I would say definitely put that on. Paint Patroller, underrated badge. You need that so that it's kind of like how Intimidator used to be on the inside. So if you're just near somebody, they're gonna miss if you have a high Paint Patroller. So I would say sweet spot, Hall of Fame as a big. Any other build, silver if you can. Unless you're a guard, you're just not gonna have it if you're small. Like this 6'6" can't even get it. Next, Paint Prodigy badge, I wouldn't even worry about it, I'm not gonna lie. Pogo, sweet spot, silver. Yeah, I would say silver. If you're a big, you want it higher. I would say if you're a big, Hall of Fame minimum. Yeah, Hall of Fame minimum. If you're a big, you should definitely have that 83 vert if you're a big, because of it does help with rebounding and stuff like that. Post fade phenom, gold, sweet spot. I'm not gonna break that down. Gold is the sweet spot for that. I have post players, so I will say gold. Post lockdown, depends on your game mode that you play the most. Silver sweet spot I would go with, but if you're playing the big, you should obviously have a higher interior. I would say the one that's worth it the most is gold. Post powerhouse, I would say silver. Post up poet, gold if you're posting up a lot. Rise up, silver. And then slippery off ball, I'm not even going to talk about because most people just dex too much. So that's the badge tier list. Next video is going to be the animation tier list, I guess you can say, sweet spots, and I'll catch y'all on that one.